Hey crafty friends, Amanda here with Crafting with Amanda, and welcome to day 30 of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches. Our sketch today is by Julie Moreau, and you can see up in the corner it has a circle element and some awesome layers of papers or something behind with flowers around it. This layout just spoke to me. So as I was looking to find inspiration, I originally thought that I was going to cut the center out of one of these beautiful papers, and this is a sneak peek for Close to My Heart starting April 1st is going to offer this as one of the new paper packs in the idea book. So I will have that link below, but it won't work until April 1st. But I just love the colors of this. And like I said, originally I thought that I was going to just cut a circle out of one of the background papers and then layer more of the pattern papers over top of it. But I think what I want to do, there was somebody online that did a card with this stamp set that I showed earlier, and it's called Floral Sentiments from Close to My Heart, and it's in the core idea book. Again, I will have that link below. And I thought that I would do some flowered backgrounds, and then I went on the Cricut in the image sets, and I believe I used from In Full Bloom, which was a paperback from a year ago this time, and then I also used from Cherish some of the flowers that are in those two sets. Close to My Heart does have a digital image file that goes along with this, so if you don't have those other two sets, you can purchase it and download. And if you need help with how to use SVGs in your cutting machine, just let me know. I'm pretty good with Scan and Cut and Cricut, but I can get help for Silhouette and if you have like a Click and Cut. I do have that, but it's been so long since I've used it. So here I just cut papers in random widths. Well, not really random. One of the papers was 1.5 inches, one was 1 3/4 inches, and the other was 2 inches wide. And then I just cut it 5.5 by 6.5, and then one was 5 by 7 as far as length, so that I can just use the front and back sides of these papers to create that same effect that Julie did in her sketch. And I'm using mist ink on all the edges. That's kind of my go-to distress ink for this paper pack. It's one of the colors in it, and it's a gray green, and I think with this floral kind of soft muted tones, it just works really well. And you can see here that there's, I don't know if it's ragweed or dandelions, but the one piece of paper I cut so that I could have a bigger representation of it on either side of the photo, because the photo is just going to cover it. If you haven't watched my channel before, I have these old photos from my mom from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And on the back of them, in my granddad's writing, some of them have my mom's writing, but most of it's my granddad, is kind of what I'm using for the journaling. So that's what that was below. So here I took that Floral Sentiments stamp set, and I haven't used it a lot, so a couple of the flowers needed to be conditioned, so that's, you can see I flipped my paper over there. But I'm going to use second generation stamping, and I'm using the back side of my Versamat because it has a nice cushy foam to it. And I'm just doing, like I said, the second generation of this stamping. And I don't know if you caught it because I was talking about other things, but what I like to do is I put this flower on the one stamp set, and then I put the overlay, this, on top of it, but on the top side of the stamp, of the block I should say, and then I pulled it off with another block so that I knew if I was holding the smaller block the same as I held the first flower block, I hope this makes sense, that I would just be able to line it up. I wouldn't have to worry about each time how it would line up. So here I'm conditioning this next stamp, and I don't line it up the same way beforehand because I didn't get out more blocks, and I hadn't figured out that I didn't have my cleaner out yet, and so I just have all these stamps on blocks, and like I said, I'm running out of blocks. But I'm just adding, now this is the mist color again, and I'm just adding some first generation of this color, and then with the layer that comes with it from this Floral Sentiment stamp, again first generation over top of it, and it just gives that nice kind of tone on tone or chromatic effect with these flowers. And it's funny, the more that it dries, the more difference there is between the two colors. So I don't know if you noticed that And as I go through and add some more, maybe you can see that the second time I stamp with that same color, it shows up darker after it dries. So here I'm just looking at what colors I have out and which ones I want to use. I decided to use mulberry. So first generation of mulberry, I'm just going to fill in around my circle. And I did create a circle drawing a dinner plate. Actually, it's a lunch size plate. And I thought that I had filmed that, but I know if you've watched any scrapbook process videos before, people always use plates to draw circles. So that's what I did. And that just kind of gives me my circle for doing this wreath. And now here I'm stamping the center of the mulberry flower, again using first generation color. And if you look up to the ones that are, if it's a clock, like at the 1 o'clock mark, you can see as they dry that the color difference is sharper. And I'm just putting this paper back in place to make sure that I am doing this. It's funny, I used to have a really hard time doing stamping or things like this that ended up, most of it not being seen. But I've learned that it's okay because it just adds another layer. It's kind of like there's a peek behind it. It draws your eye in. Even if you really physically can't see 80% of this wreath that I made, the 20% that you can see just really adds that much more interest to your project, or whether it's an art journaling or if you're working on a canvas. It's just kind of one of those that put the work in, make this beautiful wreath, and then go ahead and cover it, because the little parts that you see are still going to be pretty cool. Now this, I pulled out the pine cardstock and I did one first generation leaf there on the top, kind of like the 11 o'clock number on a clock. But then I decided that that was just too dark. I needed the more muted of a second generation. So that's what I'm going to do here with the rest of this leaf. I did grab a second leaf, and again, just starting right out with second generation. And I'm just kind of pushing them in so that they kind of look like they're behind the flowers, and some of them are going to be over top, but that's okay. And now this last sprig of leaves that I'm using, I am using the Seabrook paper, which is again another one in this Cosette papers. I really think this Cosette paper is going to be a godsend or a boon to my heritage scrapbooking album pages, because it just has the right feel. And I don't have to go floral with it. I can absolutely do like the old time feel with clocks and, let's say, keys, and I can't think of some of that, like watch fobs and some of those things I think I could incorporate. Now this is, at first I didn't think it was going to work, but because I'm hiding most of it behind and I have black as an accent in some of the Cricut cuts I did, I just poked that film strip, and that's from the In Full Bloom Cricut collection, behind everything. And it like I said, at first I didn't think it was going to work because it was too rich, too dark of a color. But once I get these flowers on and the butterfly that also is cut out of that same black, it works as far as I was concerned. So I tried those yellow flowers, even though that again is a color, it's honey butter in the cardstock pack. I needed to use the light side of it, or I needed to have more of it. It was out of balance. So I realized that right away and just pulled it right off. And here I'm just kind of trying to pay honor to the sketch, which, like I said, I absolutely love this. I think I want to do it again and try it a different way even. So I did not do all 30 days. So I am really looking forward in the next 2 months kind of filling in the gaps of the sketches that I didn't do. There's so many of them, and I really love working from sketches. And Christy has people, she invites people to create all these sketches, and so they're all exclusive to this series, and so we can use them and just basically make these scrapbook pages our own and find inspiration from all of them, which I just think is awesome. So here I just out of those Cricut image sets pulled different kind of leaf shapes and got those, and all of these are just dry fit. I haven't glued anything on except for the butterfly. And so now I want to show you, this is what I do after I'm done filming. A lot of times I use adhesive runner, or ATG to glue everything down, but I do go back later with this bottle of glue and tuck in underneath all of those little pieces parts so that in 20 years when people are going through the albums, all of the components aren't just sitting along the bottom of the page protector. As I was looking at this, I felt like it needed something more, and Julie on her sketch has kind of some wiggly lines, whether it's stitching or that, and I, using that kind of as a guide, decided that I was going to rip some edges off, kind of give it that tattered look, and then put more of this beautiful Cosette paper underneath it. So just auditioning it there, I didn't feel if I was getting I didn't feel like I was seeing what I wanted to see, if it was really going to work. So I went ahead and put it fully on there. The flat edge over here is kind of bothering me, how big it is. So I'm just trimming that back a little bit, and here we go. We're ready to go. So I cut off a strip of paper for the left-hand side and then another chunk for the upper right corner. I'm using mist again with my blending brush on the edges because I've done that with everything else on here. And then as I was done, I was like, oh, it needs something more. So I went ahead and put it on one of the mulberry sheets, and I went ahead and gutted it out because I absolutely love this paper and I don't want to waste any of it. So I'm making it so that it now has the mulberry border of 1/4 inch, which to me kind of brings your eye back to the photo because it has the mulberry stripe next to it, but also the colors in the photo have that. And again, I had stopped recording and started to edit this video, and then I realized it needed splatters. So I turned the camera back on and got out my black shimmer brush, which you can see is a mess. But in real life, and you can see here now as the close-ups come through, that splatter brush to me just kind of finished this off. And I'm really excited I think I'm going to do a couple cards with that floral sentiment stamp set as some wreaths because it was fun to do that much stamping. Be sure to check out everybody else's who is playing along with the Christie's Beautiful Life of Sketches. There's a playlist below. Here's how you can connect with me, and I will also have those connections in the video description. As you're looking at all the videos of the creators, go ahead and like their videos, give us thumbs up. It really helps us out and it doesn't cost you anything. Have a great day. Blessings.